Could practicing with the metronome be making your drumming worse? Depending on how you're using it, the answer is yes. As far back as I can remember, practicing with a metronome has been drumming chapter and verse. Work on your timing, practice with a metronome. And I've been a big advocate for it over the years. And from time to time, I'll see people saying the metronome can be harmful, and I've always pushed back. But recently, I've been playing with the click a lot less. I've been trying to program long periods of no metronome practice into my, practice. And I'm about to start recommending the same to some of my advanced students. So which is it? Is the metronome your literal lifeline? Or is it the keto diet and intermittent fasting in 2015? Cool for a while, and then when more science comes out, we're on to the next. Well, obviously, we have to go deeper. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, who, how, and for how long. And in this video, we'll explore all of that. I'm Nate, people call me the 80-20 drummer, and today on the channel, when and how to use a metronome as a tool rather than a crutch, and when not to use it to develop your drumming further. And as usual, we'll have free transcriptions of all the exercises from this video available for download at the link below the player. Is the metronome your friend, or is it trust but verify? Stay tuned. Chapter 1. The good reasons to use the metronome. You might think we come out of the womb perfectly ready to play steady time. But we don't. There's a big difference between the time perception abilities of people who grow up with high-level musicians around the house and are playing sessions and gigs with good musicians, and the rest of us. The truth is that for the average person, we don't perceive time accurately in the moment without training. We usually tend to rush and drag in very predictable places. We think offbeats are slower than they really are, so we rush. The same with hemiolas or syncopations over the bar line. We think consecutive downbeats are faster than they really are, so we tend to drag them. When we go to double time, we tend to overshoot and rush. Conversely, when we go to half time, we tend to overshoot and drag. When we play something more subdivided like sixteenths, those sound slower to us than they are, so we rush them. When we play something more sparse like half notes, we perceive those as faster than they really are, so we drag them. Disclaimer, am I a neuroscientist who did a super high-powered, double-blind study? Well, no. But I think my anecdotal evidence is strong. I spent over a decade recording myself and analyzing my own tendencies. Then I did it for students as well. And these tendencies are common across almost all the people I've seen. You may also be saying, Nate, don't those micro-distortions make the beat more danceable, more human? No. From folkloric music traditions to music created before ubiquitous click tracks and drum machines, hue and feel has been a thing. That little lilt. This is not what we're talking about. I'm talking about anything where if you recorded yourself and listened back, it would not feel more danceable. It would feel unsettled, impatient, unreliable. So we employ the metronome just to get us back to a place where our playing, when we listen back to ourselves on a recording, sounds like it felt when we played it. Okay, but how? Chapter 2. Aren't you the offbeats guy? Over the years, I've become known for my propensity to use the metronome on 16th offbeats. I'm like the weird metronome placements guy. So does that mean every drummer all the time needs to play with weird metronome placements? No. Let's talk about who should use it, how, and when. To do that, a few laws of physics. First, you should be able to lock up with the metronome 70% of the time. I pulled that out of thin air, but it's probably something around that. If you're chasing it all over the place and it's a huge distraction, it's probably hurting more than helping. So that's why when you're first starting out, we don't have to have it super esoteric places. Just put it on quarters. It's super clear and you don't have to interpret. You can spend most of your time closing the gap between where you are and where the metronome is showing you to be. But eventually this will stop working so well. In part because you'll simply stop listening to it. I've heard videos from students where they're consistently a few milliseconds ahead of the click every single beat and never adjust. They've gotten so used to it, they can clock it subconsciously, then ignore it, and it's no longer telling them anything useful. They can kind of lock up, like when you're in a conversation with a partner and you're 65% listening. Which brings us to rule 2. The metronome should always be giving you useful, actionable information. When we shift the metronome to something like 16th offbeats, it becomes impossible to ignore. The same way you can't ignore the smell in a cat house if you've been away for vacation for a few months and your nostrils are no longer accustomed. And if your timing is advanced enough, the extra benefit of being impossible to ignore outweighs the extra friction of having it in a non-obvious spot that requires a learning curve. By the way, a lot of people struggle with getting the offbeats to the kit. Super quick crash course, which is redundant. Step 1. Put the metronome on offbeats and just practice clapping along on offbeats. It's easier slower.
2,
Find the speed limit.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Step 2. When you take it to the kit, practice first with 16th offbeats on the hi-hats, because it's easier to hook in when some part of your body is playing along with the metronome. Step 3. Now alternate regular 8s on the hats with 16th offbeats. Eventually, you'll be able to do the 8s for longer and longer. Step 4. Bob is actually your uncle. Reminder, free transcription of all this stuff at the link below the player. But there's another rule which is going to become more important later. Rule 3, don't train yourself to follow. Super simple. With the metronome on quarters, you can follow it. That's okay when you're first starting because ease of use outweighs those other things. But once you're kind of good at it, you need something else. Metronome on non-downbeat parts of the beat requires you to make a guess about where the tempo is, and the metronome will tell you, often unforgivingly, whether you're right or wrong. That's the third major reason I like it on offbeats. But there's still a major pitfall to stuff like 16th offbeats. It's possible to be micro-precise and still macro-rush or drag. For example, picture a drummer who's got super squared away subdivisions, the distance between all the notes is consistent. In the micro, they're on the money. But the song still ends at a different tempo than it started. Over the years, I've learned that's because there's a certain spidey sense about rushing or dragging that doesn't really form with such frequent feedback. And by the way, I've heard this type of drummer before in real life. Micro-precise, but macro, rushy, draggy. I won't name any names. That's why we do infrequent placements. For me, it was every beat 4. For Benny Greb, it's on for 1 bar, off for a bar. Whatever your flavor, these are working on the same mechanism. We go extreme, make a guess where the tempo is, and the metronome will tell you if you're right or not, end of the spectrum. I recommend this after a few months of 16th offbeats. Couple rules of thumb. This is the opposite of 16th offbeats. The slower you go, the more absolute time between clicks, and the harder it will be. You can start off with it on 2 and 4, or on every 4 at a faster tempo. As you get better, gradually lower the tempo. But didn't I say you shouldn't always use the metronome? Let's get into that now. Chapter 4. When and why not to use the metronome. There's a brain-dead version of this critique, and there's a valid one, in my opinion. Brain-dead would be some of the things we've already covered. You'll sound like a robot. It'll take away your human feel, man. And we've covered why I think that's false. We're not born with human feel. We learn that from years of playing with great musicians, or folkloric dance music. The grooves untrained drummers just feel don't feel loose and nasty. They feel jittery and unreliable. One critique that spans both brain dead and valid is it'll make you dependent on the click, and you'll never develop your own sense of time. The nuance is it's about how you use it. Use it on quarters exactly as long as it takes you to get pretty good at following it on quarters, then put it somewhere else. You're not getting metronome dependent if you can't even keep a steady beat, and the metronome on quarters is helping you unlearn that. You're also not getting metronome dependent if you're putting it on beat 4 of every bar. What's more, with these macro time placements, i.e. on beat 4, you also leave yourself room to push and pull within the bar. So ironically, it can make your non-metric human time feel stronger, because you can still train going completely Elvin Jones in the bar and still landing solidly on the 4. But yes, if you only ever play it on quarters, and or if you're a drummer who needs a click on every live arrangement, then somebody turns it off, you can get some dependency there. And lately, I've been turning it off for entire practice sessions. And with some of my advanced students, I'm about to start encouraging them to do the same. Why? In my opinion, the better your internal time gets, the more leash you should give yourself. But a couple of months ago, I realized that if I turned the metronome off and just played beats with no metronome, I still felt like there was something missing. I was still a little dependent on that checkpoint every couple bars to let me know I was in the right place. Which is why, Chapter 4.5, When to Go Cold Turkey. I think the final stage in this cycle is to practice playing in time with no metronome at all. Don't even record yourself at first. Your entire goal should be to play until that little voice in your head that goes, "Is this in time?" goes away. Max Roach didn't have that. Bill Ward didn't. Bonham didn't. Stuart Copeland, Jack DeJohnette, RIP. Go metronome detox. Now a bunch of drummers are going to watch this and be like, "See, I don't have to play with the metronome." That is not what I'm saying. Any more than I tell a group of day one culinary students to throw out the cookbooks and just trust their taste buds. By the way, I know there's going to be some well actually guy in the comments saying that's what you should do. But I think you know what I mean. Before you turn it off, ask yourself, when you play time then listen back, does it sound 100% as groovy as you expected, with 0 surprises? Can you play with 16th offbeats and keep time without losing the metronome? Can you play with the metronome on only beat 4 and keep it together? Okay, only then would I say turn it off. Let's not get it twisted. But I think there's an important last chapter of time development beyond macro time. Just turning the metronome off and getting comfortable playing time unaccompanied. Then, after a few days, record yourself. You can use the recording as a check. See if any surprises have emerged. And use the metronome on beat 4 every once in a while to check in and reassure yourself. You could always dip back into any of these placements for a fine tune.
And that's how you get the gig!
Anyway, you guys, this is my magnum opus on the metronome, one of the last videos of 2025. See if you agree. If you agree or disagree, leave a polite comment below. And don't forget, you can grab a free transcription of anything I played in this video by clicking the link below the player and telling us where to send it on the next page. Dudes, it's been real, always enjoyed these. See you again real soon in another Lesson of the Week.